G'day folks, welcome to another Aeon Trespass Odyssey update. I'm now 24 in-game days into this campaign, so I'm a little more than a quarter of the way through. There's a maximum of 80 game days allowed. If you hit 80 game days and you haven't completed the story, you lose. So that's kind of the maximum I'll be allowed. I've heard some people have finished it in 50 game days. Having said that, as I mentioned in the last video, I have been kind of adventuring and participating in some side quests, you might call them. At least the first 10 days I was doing that. And I was doing that in the hope that it would give me some early in-game bonuses. I didn't quite know what I would be getting. I just thought, there has to be something advantageous in these quests. I didn't find anything spectacular, and so from about game day 10, I shifted to the main storyline. And for the past 14 game days, I've been focusing on that as much as I can, 100% on that main storyline. You can't always do so. Sometimes, so the last storyline, I had to do something specific. I had to travel to a location, and along the way, I had to do these side quests. I didn't have the option to advance the storyline until I'd reached my location. But the game is still evolving. There are still new things happening, and I want to kind of touch upon some of the key developments, some of the interesting things that have happened. If you're worried about spoilers, look, I guess they're technically spoilers. If you want to play this game with full surprises on, then you might want to tune out, because I will talk about some of the things that happened. I want to talk about the map as well, because look, I've got some thoughts about this. So the first kind of spoiler, warning in advance, is the discovery of nymphs. So I found this engine nymph that was working in the hull of my Argo, which is all the way up here on the map. As you can see, I've skirted the coast, headed up north. At some point around here, this nymph appeared in my ship, saved my engine, then disappeared. And I have the ability to summon this nymph. It requires me to have a hull of 3 or less. Now, I've never reached that point. So basically, when your hull is doing really bad, if your ship is starting to fall apart, you can summon this nymph to give you an extra tile movement. That's it. It doesn't seem huge. It's just a little bonus. The other pretty interesting development is I have discovered god forms. Now, the gods are dead. The big bad monsters came and killed the gods of Olympus, so Zeus is dead. But the idea, we're told through the stories that are communicated through adventures, the idea is that the spirit of Zeus can be imbued in my Titan. So if you look closely, this is not actually Zeus. It looks like a Titan. And the Titan, you can see the Titan sort of elements on this statue. And so I think the idea is that your Titans, and it's very difficult to make this happen. Okay, I haven't had it happen yet. I know that it can happen. Basically, for this to happen, a Titan has to die. They have to draw a special card, and then they have to roll as a critical, so a 10 on a D10 for that to happen. So I think the circumstances to enable this to happen are pretty rare, but it can happen. All right, so that's been unlocked as well. Technologies continue to advance. I've got lots of different interesting abilities and technologies now. I've finally unlocked the ability, to build my naval ram, which I'm pretty happy about. This is a really cool item. So what this, and I'll talk about combat as well, because I'm doing really well in combat. I've really evolved my tactics in combat. This is not just a hack and slash. The first battle or two that I rushed into, you suffer unless you think carefully about it. The key tactical consideration is using the Primordial's movement value and range. So this Labyrinthaurus, for example, can move 6 spaces. And if you position yourself basically 7 spaces away, or if you position your tanks in a way that these Primordials will attack your tanks, well, then, yeah, you are setting yourself up well to endure the fight, because these things can deal. I'll talk about this guy in a moment, but this Labyrinthaurus can dish out a heck of a lot of damage. But I now have the ability to tank a lot of that damage. I mentioned this item in my last video. The Epites Lifeguard enables me basically to dodge out of the way, reflex, move 1 space on a reaction. You can't always do this. It's not always advantageous, but there are many opportunities where I've used that to save myself, often from crashing into the monster. Then I've got 2 of these ancient Siren Panoply armors now. I found another ancient shell, which lets me build a second one. And this is really good as well. It gives me up to 3 red dice in defense. And basically what that means is when I'm about to take damage, I roll 3 red dice and I negate damage by rolling those shield icons. That combined with the reflex, combined with what else? Yeah, I've got a couple of sail spolas now. So the items, I'm building these items. I found this minnow head, another defensive item. You know, the ability to re-roll evasion dice. All these things are enhancing my ability to survive the battles and beat these monsters. I've got some great items. Mace is rolling 2 black dice when it hits. I found this somewhere, I can't recall. The naval ram that I mentioned. I previously mentioned the Manos Discus, which is serving a good role. Okay. So yeah, my tactics have improved and I'm winning every battle pretty much. Losing a couple of titans along the way, but I haven't had to retreat from a fight. This guy's a pain in the backside. He's the big boss basically, and a lot of chaos and randomness with him. He just throws these despair tokens at you. And this is kind of where we get to one of my criticisms of the game, and it is just so messy. So I am now tracking, multiple items, 4 items for this character, 5 over here. What do we got over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, plus an ability. There's so much now to track and remember, and it's becoming quite cumbersome. These are despair tokens, and this guy throws out these despair tokens, and there's only, from what I can tell, there's only one place in the rules where it tells you what they do, and I keep forgetting. And so every time I've got a second despair token, I have to go back to the rulebook to check it again, and I forget. There's not much in the way of player aids in this game. You've got the rulebook, and that's it. There are no summary sheets. Look, I will point out, the rulebook does have, for example, a most popular in-game symbols. It tells you what the symbol is. This is a doom symbol, but it doesn't tell you what it does. So there's a lot of flicking back through the rulebook. Constant flicking back through the rulebook. I mean, my rulebook is getting quite a wear out. It's just becoming bent and so forth from constantly referring back to it. Okay, so as I said, a lot of the action takes place on the map. And it's really interesting. It's really fun to explore this land. But, again, this is another big spoiler. I don't think the specifics of this map matter. You've noticed these tiles here. These are labyrinthine temples. They are placed basically on the nearest city to where I am at the time when this event happens. You've got one named city, Knossos, over here. I'm not ruling out the possibility of there being other named cities. Maybe there are specific locations that I'm yet to find. I acknowledge I'm only 24 in-game days into this campaign. Okay, so there's roughly 24 tiles, actually less than that. There's about 20 tiles, one per day, plus I have to do some backtracking for the mission. But there's only one named location, Knossos, over here on the left. Every other location looks nice, is distinct in its appearance and art, okay? But there's nothing unique. There's nothing unique about any particular tile. So if, for example, this was, I think I was here and a story said, place this temple on the nearest city. So I placed it there. If I then have to go to this temple, I just go to the nearest temple. On a replay, if I were to explore the west coast, the nearest city might be up to the west. And yeah, so it's like I'm exploring this map, but I feel like it doesn't matter. That may be a strange thing to say, but I feel like I could explore. I explored south and then east. I explored the south coast and then the east coast. I feel I could have explored the west coast and then the north coast, and my game experience would be no different whatsoever. And I think that's really interesting because what it says is that the map is kind of moot, useless, pointless in a sense. Yes, you are, these icons trigger certain things. These icons, that's an adventure icon. That's a Doom icon. That's a story progression icon that does things. But it could be on any generic map. There are no locations. There are no named locations or coordinates. There are map tiles that you place. But yeah, so But again, that's 20 tiles in. Maybe I just haven't found. Maybe they're all just sitting just off my explored area. Maybe I'm about to find a heap of named things. But I've been really surprised by that. Just the lack of unique things. So even here, okay, so I had to go and visit this city. All right. I placed that tile because it was the nearest city to me when I read the event. But that city could have been over here. And so if I was traveling on the west coast when that happened, this might be the nearest city. And then that suddenly is this beautiful city that I'm talking about in the story. So the stories are really well written and they're presented in a way such that you can engage with them wherever you are, wherever you're exploring. And I think basically the crux of it is that it doesn't matter where you explore. I don't think you can make bad exploration decisions in terms of, you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to miss a vital city, things like that, which I think is a good thing because it gives you a sense of control, gives you a sense that you're making important decisions, but hides the fact that your decisions don't really matter that much. Which I think it's a good way to design the game. There's this feeling of I'm deciding to go here, I'm deciding to go here, I'm deciding to go here, when I could go here, here, and here, and the outcome is exactly the same. Character development. Okay, so this is getting really interesting. These are the Nemos cards. I've upgraded a few of these now, and I'm using these holders to show level 2. So this is level 1, it's covered up. This is level 3, it's covered up. This just highlights that the character is up to the level 2. And it's really interesting. So they're getting these personal stories coming out. What else? There are lots of other adventures happening as well. I had my first R&R adventure. This is basically where we go on my crew went on a drinking binge. And we found a lost titan. Look, really cool stories, really immersive. What I like about the stories is that they're not, you're reading a lot, but you're reading in small chunks at a time. So you read a small paragraph, maybe 10 to 20 lines of narrow text, and then you stop. Sometimes you read, one line and you're done. So it's not overwhelming. It's not a burden. It's just these little bite size, dipping your toes in the text, and then you're done. So, folks, yeah, there you go. That's my progress 24 days into the campaign. Much, much more to come. Oh, this is the bad guy. I talked about him briefly. He's a pain in the backside. I don't like fighting him. But, yeah, I'll talk more about some other things as they develop. Thanks all, and take care.